Segment 2, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web, www.ntnm.org. You'll find all the links to YouTube. Over 130,000 shows watched. Thank you so much. Community policing, we're all big on that, camps24.org. Sonny in his spare time is chairman of the Advisory Council of the 24th District. And please show up at your CAPS meetings, meet your policeman face-to-face, find out what's really going on in your neighborhood. Don't listen to gossipy, snippy, whatever. There's so much bad information going around, especially now that we're in the summer months. It's good to know what's happening in the block you live in and the area you're in. So please check out caps24.org. It is a pleasure to have the executive director, I guess the title is, of the Lakeside Community Development Corporation, Brian White. Brian, how you doing?
Nice to see you.
Thank you, you too. Tell us about what is the Lakeside Community Development Corporation?
Well, we are primarily a comprehensive housing organization that works with people who are looking for information and assistance to locate a rental apartment, a home to purchase, or if they own a home, to keep their home.
Now, before we go much further, you are a 501c3 nonprofit?
We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a HUD-certified housing counseling agency. We're also a delegate agency of the City of Chicago's Department of Community Development. And we also are affiliated with the Illinois Housing Development Authority for some of their counseling programs.
Very good. I had to make sure so you can say some of the stuff you're going to say without us being snipped off the
air.
No,
of course not.
So please, continue.
Well, I was going to say, since the last time I was on the show, there's a couple of programs I wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about and share with some of your viewers. The organization continues to be very actively involved on the foreclosure prevention front. I think at the last time we spoke, I talked about the fact that the Westridge community had the highest number of foreclosures per square mile in 2009, according to a report by National People's Action. And that was obviously something that we were very concerned about and something that we were actively working on.
Very scary. For those of us who don't realize, West Rogers Park, which is where we are, is what people call, which official name is Westridge.
Yes, thank you. And Rogers Park was fourth, what people would call East Rogers Park. So our area has a very high number of foreclosures. We are excited that we are currently working on a project in the West Rogers Park community area with the West Rogers Park Community Organization to go door to door to people's homes and let them know about the availability of housing counseling and legal services that can help them save their homes. This is something that has been done in some neighborhoods in Chicago, but it's not a very widespread activity, and it's been done in other parts of the country where it's really demonstrated that if you can get people face-to-face and explain what their options are, they really have a much higher chance of getting into housing counseling, working with their lenders on a solution, and actually saving their home. So we have started to do some of the door-to-door outreach in West Rogers Park. We're going to hopefully be starting it in Rogers Park very soon, but that's a very exciting development. So far, we have reached about 12 to 13% of the folks that we are trying to reach, which to many people might sound like a very small amount until you stop and think that for the majority of people who are receiving communications by mail, they are tending to get response rates of less than 1% from those folks. So it's a...
and that's actually considered pretty good to get about a 1% response off mail.
Right, that's a success. So for us to get to 12% of the people and get them actually into some kind of assistance is very great. So we're actually looking for people to volunteer with the program if they'd like to and help us to help their neighbors keep their homes.
Very good. Very good. Now, what kind of tools do you have to help people?
Most of the resources that we have are going to be information and counseling. So for people who are looking for solutions to their different housing problems, there's a myriad of resources out there. There's different government programs, there's different private programs. Navigating through that can be really a challenge for most people. So the role of the housing counselor is to be an objective advocate for the individual they're working with to help them understand what their options are, make sure they can complete the different paperwork that might be required. And in particular with the case of the foreclosure programs, make sure that the lenders are doing what they're supposed to do, because what we find pretty consistently is that due to the volume of issues that are going on with the lenders and the servicers, oftentimes either they don't know what the rules are or they may not be following the rules as carefully as they need to. So the housing counselor can be a very strong advocate to explain to the lender, you're actually not doing this correctly, let me explain how this is supposed to work. On the rental programs, our rental counselors deal with landlords, they deal with property management firms, They obviously work with the renters themselves. They can help people apply for subsidized apartments, unsubsidized apartments. We'll be doing a series of landlord workshops that we're doing over the course of the summer, where we have landlords come in and learn, best practices in property management. And then we also have another program that I wanted to mention real quickly, which is for many folks who are having difficulty right now because of the economy. There are a lot of renters out there that can't pay their rent, and landlords are also struggling and may feel the need to evict those tenants who are not paying. Through the federal stimulus legislation that was passed last year, there's now funding available for people who qualify based on income and their financial need to get cash assistance, which is actually paid to the landlord to make up for the back rent or the need for a security deposit.
So that goes direct. That's good.
Goes directly to it's a great program. It goes directly to the landlord. The eligibility, there are certain eligibility restrictions, but they're actually not that difficult. And then while the rent is being paid, there's counseling being provided to help that person transition into a new job, apply for social services, get into other benefits they might need, and get them back on their feet. So it's a short-term rental assistance program. This is not, it's not public aid. It's not a welfare program per se. It's really designed to be a short-term assistance for folks that are having a financial hardship that's largely due to the downturn in the economy. So we're working on that program across the north side of the city primarily with a group called Housing Opportunities for Women, who's kind of our partner in that project. So if there are folks out there who are renting apartments or know someone who's renting an apartment and is having a tough time paying their rent, they can contact the City of Chicago's 311 helpline and ask for temporary housing assistance, and it's called the Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program. We also tell people if they are going to call 311 that they would be well advised to contact Lakeside or Housing Opportunities for Women first, so that we can be sure that if they are contacting 311, they're getting the best information possible. And if that program is not going to work for them, then they have the opportunity to talk to our counselors about other options that might be available to them.
When you talk about, also training landlords in what kind of training do you give them?
Well, so far this year, we've been partnering with a group called Community Investment Corporation, which does a comprehensive landlord training program. It deals with marketing, leasing, property management, property maintenance, financial management, capital reserves, the whole range of things that smaller landlords are going to need to deal with. What we find is that there are, in our service area, which includes really the greater northeast side of the city and then the inner suburbs, Evanston, Skokie, and so on and so forth, most of the affordable rental housing that we try to work around, or to work on behalf of, I should say, is provided by smaller independent landlords who probably don't have property management companies, or if they do, it's their maintenance worker who kind of doubles as the property manager. And those folks oftentimes really just don't have access to the kind of professional training that they could get from other companies, or if they had larger budgets.
Yeah, I grew up in a three-flat. My parents bought that. They rented out the other two and lived in one of them.
Right. So CIC has been doing this program for, I have to tell you, probably 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
I was trained literally thousands of landlords across the Chicago region. And we have partnered with them to have them do more of those trainings with us in Rogers Park and in the West Rogers Park area primarily, targeting the smaller landlords, 2 flats, 3 flats, 6 flats. We get a certain number of people who own condominiums as investment properties who are considered landlords in the city of Chicago. We think it's actually really beneficial for them to come because they can learn about the Chicago Landlord Tenant Ordinance. They can learn about some of the issues that are specifically somewhat unique for condo associations and dealing with landlords within condo associations. So we have a series of those programs that will be going on through the summer and the fall. We've also spent a little bit of time talking about bed bugs, which, believe it or not, has become kind of a more significant problem in the city of Chicago. So it's really, our organization, the mission of the organization is to preserve and create affordable housing opportunities. And by that we mean the opportunity for a person to be able to have a choice of living in a neighborhood where they want to live, where they can afford to live. And for us to achieve our mission, it requires that either we help people get more money to put towards their housing by increasing their income, or getting a subsidy, or by bringing down and maintaining the cost of affordable housing, which is done through subsidies to the landlord, the best practices work that we do, and kind of trying to cut out some of the inefficiencies that exist that might cause landlords to have to raise their rents or property owners to have to raise their sale prices.
One question, which I don't know if this is directly, involved in what you do or the other people do, but just the cap speed facilitator side of it. Do you guys also let the landlords know that, like, about checking out tenants and stuff and being careful themselves to try to get somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the points that's raised in the course of the tenant screening process, the leasing and screening process, is actually working with the local CAPS officers to get pointers on doing that, on questions having to do with tenant screening, and also to work with landlords, to have landlords work with local police on doing security screenings for their buildings, to have them come out and actually, look through the building to determine whether or not there are safety issues that need to be addressed, such as changing of locks or installing of, more secure features to the building. We've done that both with landlords through the rental program and also with condo associations. Because they don't realize you can get the police to come out and actually give you that consultation.
Which is very cool. It's
for
something
free.
that it's such a big help. It prevents robberies. It makes neighborhoods safer, and I think that's a really good thing. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. No, we try to coordinate as best we can. I mean, we're a small organization. We have a staff of 6 people, plus we have 3 part-time people. So we're covering a lot of ground with the programs that we have, which is why we're working right now and have been working for most of this year to recruit more and more volunteers. We have an ongoing campaign to try to put the equivalent of a full-time employee into service in our communities in the form of volunteer hours, which would be about 1,820 hours of volunteer service. Wow. We're well over halfway on the way to that goal so far this year.
Cool.
So we have hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteers coming in, and we would certainly welcome more.
And sounds good. We got to wrap this up at this
point.
Your contact information if people want to contact
people you? Can look for us on the web at www.lakesidecdc.org, or they can call our office at 773-381-5253.
Thank you very much, Brian White.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thanks to my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next week. See you on the web. Bye-bye.